All right, I'm going to start. Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Walker. I'm the chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Boston Landmarks Commission on April 14th, 2026 at 6:02 p.m. Present are Commissioners Jacques, Freeman, Orlando, Mac Jones, Hoffman, Amadeo, Haney, and myself. Did any commissioners join that I didn't catch? And also with us are Boston Landmarks Commissioners staff members, Elizabeth Sherva, who is the Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation, Jennifer Gaugler, who is an architectural historian, Chelsea Blanchard, staff architect, any other staff members on the call that I may have missed. All right. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at www.zoomgov.com/J/1600418225 or by calling 646-828-7666 and entering the meeting ID 160-041-8225. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. At this time, I'd like to ask if there are any media or elected officials present. Would you please identify yourself and state your name, title, and affiliation? I'll give you a minute to find the raise your hand function in the Zoom platform. You'll have to do that in order to be unmuted.
Also, Brad, we're now joined by Angela Ward Hyatt.
Thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any media or elected officials joining the call.
We do have Allison Poltinas on the call, who's raised her hand.
Allison, are you media this evening?
Actually, I'm not. So I just wanted to correct my name on the screen because I'm not representing the newspaper tonight. Thank you.
Thanks,
you,
Allison.
Let me briefly run through tonight's agenda. It's the same as the published agenda, but in case you're joining the call and you want to know when the matter you're interested in is coming up, we're going to start by reviewing the meeting minutes of the March 24th, 2026 meeting. We'll then go on to consider the possible designation of Memorial Hall in Charlestown. And then we will go on to consider a petition for FOLSOM House at 3 to 4 FOLSOM Avenue in Mission Hill. Then we have a demolition delay matter before us at 40R through 42 Temple Street in Mattapan. And then staff and commissioner updates and adjournment. So let's start, if we can, please, with the ratification of the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes from the March 24th, 2026 meeting were distributed to commission members prior to tonight's meeting. And I'd open the floor to commissioners for any comments or corrections to those. If there are none, I would accept a motion to accept the minutes as they are presented.
I'll make that motion, Brad.
Thank you, Justine. And a second, please.
I'll second that, Jeffrey Haney.
Thank you. All commissioners present will be voting. Commissioner Jacques?
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman?
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando?
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt?
Yes.
Commissioner Haney?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And we move on to study reports and designations. So we're going to look at Memorial Hall at 14 Green Street and consider its designation as a City of Boston landmark. The Boston Landmarks Commission is required to hold a public hearing on all proposed designations following the completion of a study report, which describes the significance of the property and the standards and criteria by which future changes to the property may be evaluated. The study report is made available for public review and comment for at least 3 weeks before the hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to hear the findings of the study report, to hear testimony from interested parties, and to vote on the proposed designation unless the chair decides to extend the vote to a later date so that the commission can acquire more information. And I would now ask Landmarks Commission architectural historian Jennifer Gogler to make a brief presentation summarizing the findings of this study report.
Thank you, Brad. On January 14th, 2025, the Boston Landmarks Commission accepted a petition to study the designation of Memorial Hall in Charlestown as a landmark under Chapter 772 of the Acts of 1975 as amended. On March 24th, 2026, the Boston Landmarks Commission posted a study report on the proposed landmark. I will now present a brief summary from the study report. The building at 14 Green Street, now known as Memorial Hall, bears historic significance as the 18th century home of Samuel Dexter, and later as a meeting hall that has been in continuous use by residents of Charlestown since the 1880s. Memorial Hall is also architecturally significant as both a rare extant 18th century mansion and an example of 19th century adaptive reuse. The building was originally built in 1791 as a residence for Samuel Dexter, who served as Secretary of War and of the Treasury under President John Adams. He also served in both branches of the United States Congress. 14 Green Street is one of Charlestown's few surviving estate houses, so called for its once extensive land and connection to former estates. Here we see one of the earliest maps on which the house appears, which is the 1830 Plan of Charlestown by John G. Hales. The home remained a residence for almost a century, and here we see some historic views of the house. So on the left, we have a painted over photo of the house circa the 1870s. And on the right, that photo hasn't been precisely dated, but it's sometime from the late 1800s to early 1900s. In 1887, 14 Green Street was purchased by the Abraham Lincoln Post No. 11 of the Grand Army of the Republic. Post No. 11 was the Charlestown branch of a fraternal organization for Civil War veterans. Between 1887 and 1888, Post No. 11 adapted the building by installing a new meeting hall on the second floor, which required raising the existing roof and belvedere, and constructed a two-story addition on its southeast elevation to contain a new staircase and ancillary spaces for events. Following its completion, the members of Post No. 11 marched to their new home, now known as Memorial Hall, in a grand procession attended by the Mayor of Boston. While it was originally formed as a fraternal group for Civil War veterans, the GAR grew into a powerful political interest group. Across the United States, members of the GAR lobbied for pension legislation, founded soldiers' homes, and helped establish the first Memorial Day. Like many other GAR posts nationwide, Post No. 11 at 14 Green Street also served as a venue for charitable events, including raising money for widows and orphans nearby. Over time, the Post broadened its programs to include events for veterans of other wars. And in 1972, Memorial Hall became home to the Charlestown Community Center, a site run by the Boston Junior League and the Ladies Visiting Committee of the Massachusetts General Hospital that provided programs to help educate disadvantaged adults. In the 2010s, recognizing a need to restore the building, Post members began organizing and planning a restoration project. A thorough restoration of the building was completed by the Abraham Lincoln Post Board from 2019 to 2025, returning the building to its 1888 appearance. These efforts were supported by the Charlestown Preservation Society and funds from Boston's Community Preservation Act, the George B. Henderson Foundation, and Brown Funds. The Preservation Carpentry program at the North Bennett Street School restored clapboards and shingles, windows, the main entrance's door hood and surround, and the belvedere. In the study report, our staff found that Memorial Hall meets the following criteria for designation as a landmark as established in Section 4 of Chapter 772. So criteria B is structures at which events have occurred that have made an outstanding contribution to some aspect of the history of the city, Commonwealth, New England region, or the nation. So Memorial Hall bears historic significance as an 18th century mansion and later as a meeting hall that has been in continuous use since the 1880s by residents of Charlestown. I won't read everything here, which summarizes what I just presented, but we also found that it meets criteria C, which is being associated significantly with the lives of outstanding historical persons. And that is satisfied by it being built as a residence for Samuel Dexter, who was a very prominent cabinet member and politician in the early history of the United States. And we also found that it satisfies criteria D, which is about architectural style and craftsmanship. It's significant both for its original 18th century form and then also for its 19th century adaptive reuse. And so you can see in the photo on the left that it does convey the original federal style architecture in sort of the original main block. But we also see this extension at the top, which almost gives it kind of a Second Empire feel. And so this is an interesting architectural hybrid that is pretty unique for Charlestown. And therefore, Boston Landmarks Commission staff recommends that the commission designate Memorial Hall as a landmark under Chapter 772, and the effects of this designation shall be that review by the BLC or commission staff shall be required for any proposed alterations to the exterior envelope of the building or to below ground work on the parcel, including within the footprint of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sorry to throw it right back to you, but can you tell me if there's any written public comment?
Yes. We have received a letter from Molly Donahue, the Director of Advocacy for the Boston Preservation Alliance, conveying their support for the designation of Memorial Hall as a Boston landmark. They said that the building meets multiple criteria for designation as the residence for a prominent historical figure. It hosted events that represent important cultural and social history, and it's architecturally significant for both its 18th and 19th century portions, and respectfully requests that the BLC approve its designation. And lastly, we also received a comment from Judy McDonough, former executive director of the BLC. Judy wrote that she fully supports the landmark designation and that we should also recognize, and I'd like to quote directly, we thought her words were very powerful, that we should also recognize, quote, the men and women, mostly veterans, who have respectfully kept the building standing while learning and embracing preservation practices for over 2 decades. Their devoted leaders dipped toes into the often scary preservation world about 2007 when the Charlestown Preservation Society started fundraising for the training fields restoration. The vets join the brigades of the state's private owners of historically significant places who keep them alive with little money and lots of blood, sweat, tears, and love. And yes, the building merits landmarking, end quote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. At this time, we're going to move on to verbal testimony. The first thing we have to do is ask again, is there any legal counsel representing any participant in this matter? Please identify yourself for the record. You'll need to raise your hand or press *9 if you're calling on a phone line. I'm not actually asking for comment at this time. I'm just asking for identification. Not seeing any legal counsel. I'll read in this next part. Most of you have been here, I think, in some capacity before. If you haven't, it will seem a little tedious, but bear with us. Testimony is taken in a specific order as specified by the Landmark Commission regulations in this order, from elected officials, from the Planning Department and the Massachusetts Historic Commission, who have statutory responsibility, then from the property owner, then from those speaking or providing written testimony in support of designation, then from those speaking or submitting written testimony at the hearing in opposition to designation, then from those who wish to comment not necessarily in support or in opposition to the designation, and lastly, from anyone with questions or rebuttals on the previously presented testimony. If you wish to speak when I call your category, please raise your hand or press *9 if you're on a phone. Please state your name and your relationship to the property. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes for the petitioner, spokesperson, and owner, and 2 minutes per person for others. Comments should be focused on the validity of the study report and the criteria for the designation. We don't take comments about ownership or use or future development plans. So I'm going to go back through my list and ask if there are any elected officials wishing to comment at this time. I'm going to assume everyone has found the raise your hand button. If for some reason I skip over you while you're still searching for it, jump in. Next, from the Planning Department or the Massachusetts Historic Commission who have statutory review responsibility. Next, from the property owner. I see someone clapping, but I'm not sure what that means.
I'm going to ask Joseph to unmute.
Maybe that's a raise your hand.
There we go. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Zaffanti. I'm the president of the Abraham Lincoln Post 11 and the point man for the restoration work that was performed over the last 10 years. We love this building. We're very concerned about it falling by the wayside. We wanted to get historic landmark designation. We want it to last another 100 years. It's a beautiful jewel in the Charlestown community. And I think it hits so many points in your requirements. Samuel Dexter was renowned. His home, we still find little pieces of odds and ends on the grounds. When the veterans took it over and turned it into a community meeting place, it has served so many different events. We've had it as a World War I barracks at one point. We've had the disabled American veterans in there, the American Legion, the many different groups of veterans. And we continue today as the Abraham Lincoln Post, supporting the veterans at Charlestown and providing space for the community. And I hope that you can find it in your knowledge of the buildings or so to agree with me that this is a building that should be taken care of and landmarked. Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate your support. Anyone else wishing to speak in support of designation tonight? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
It looks like Amanda would like to speak. Just one moment.
Yep.
Hello, I am Amanda Zettel, and I'm the president of the Charlestown Preservation Society. And I'm here tonight to offer our wholehearted support for the landmark designation of Memorial Hall. As you heard earlier, Memorial Hall is one of the most historically significant buildings in Boston, one of Boston's 50 oldest. It began its life in 1791 as the federal-style mansion of Samuel Dexter. We are very proud of the restoration of this building and of our veterans and their record of civic service that is virtually unmatched in Boston. So we respectfully urge you to vote yes tonight. A unanimous vote for this designation would send a very powerful message that Boston honors its veterans, protects its architectural heritage, and understands that the stories it holds are worthy of protection forever. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else in support or opposition at this time? All right, then we move on to the agnostics. Anyone wishing to speak not in support or opposition? Anyone with questions or rebuttals on the previous testimony? This time, I would like to invite commissioners to ask questions or comment on the study report or on the proposed designation.
Brad, this is John Amadeo. May I comment
Absolutely.
or actually start with a question? Jennifer, did I hear you say that the landmark boundary is limited to the footprint of the house? Is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
No, that is not correct. I'm happy to say that it is the entire parcel. And I know what made you think that, so let me go back to my exact wording. Because, we consulted with archaeology, and anytime you have a very old property like this with a relatively large parcel, archaeology says there could be stuff there. And so staff's recommendation for this designation is that it would be the entire parcel, and that commission or staff review would be required for alterations to the exterior envelope of the building and below ground work on the entire parcel, but that includes within the footprint of the building itself, so underneath the building. So yeah, the entire parcel.
Jennifer, thank you so much for that clarification. And no further question or comment. Thank you.
Other commissioners? Participation is encouraged.
So I'll ask just to clarify, does the site include the Vietnam Veterans Memorial?
Yes, and I mean, the property owner can confirm this for me, but, and you're talking about the thing you can see here on the right-hand side of this photo.
Oh, you can see it. Oh,
Yeah, I believe that is
Yes.
within their parcel, if Joe, wants to confirm that. I'm sorry, he may have, yeah, there, his hand's up.
You should be able to unmute Joe.
So I was talking to myself. Yes, that is on our parcel. We erected the Vietnam Monument in 2009. There had been a long stretch where the building was falling into disrepair, and the veterans membership was down to maybe 2 veterans, and the rest of the group that was using the building called themselves auxiliary members. And the building and the people that were in it weren't really looked upon with too much affection in the community. And that was the step we took to show the community that we were actually earnest in our plans to bring the veteran building back into shape. We collected about $70,000, and we erected that memorial to the 6 men who were killed in Vietnam. Our property extends about, it's a funny triangle from the middle of the eastern wall to the borderline is another 10 or 15 feet of property that's part of our parcel. Did that clear up your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other commissioners? All right, I'm going to say that we're going to close public testimony at this time and ask Jennifer, please, to review next steps in this process.
Yes, as required by the BLC's regulations, written statements may continue to be submitted for the record up until 3 working days following the hearing to the Boston Landmarks Commission at 26 Court Street, Floor 2, Boston, Mass. 02108. Statements may also be sent to blc@boston.gov. An extension of time for submitting written testimony and a postponement of the designation vote may be granted tonight at the chair's discretion, and the public record of the hearing is available upon request to BLC staff at blc@boston.gov. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to say that given the written and verbal testimony we received tonight, I think the commission has the information needed to proceed to a vote, and there's no need for an extension of time. Even though the commission will vote on the designation tonight, staff will continue to accept written testimony for the record till this Friday, April 17th, 2026 at 5 p.m. So the commission tonight will take 2 votes on this matter. The first is to accept the study report. And then if the study report is accepted, we would take a second vote to designate the property as a Boston landmark. And I would now entertain a motion to accept the study report for this Boston landmark.
I'll make that motion.
Sorry, I was looking down. Was that
Uh,
Felicia?
Yes.
I'll second. John Amadeo.
Amadeo. Thank you. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. The study report is accepted. And we would now go on to a second motion to designate 14 Green Street in Charlestown as a Boston landmark. May I have a motion, please?
I will also make that motion.
Thank you,
And
Felicia.
I'll second again.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Whoever was asking for a unanimous vote got it. And we move on to next matter. Thank you, everyone that was here for that. The next matter is a petition.
Sorry, Brad.
Yes,
Brad,
sorry.
There, do you want to just read the
Oh,
last
I'm
part of the
sorry.
script
Yeah,
about
there
the
is.
next steps?
So sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
The commission, having voted to designate the landmark this evening, means that staff will create a vote of designation document that will present the details about the property, a list of commissioners' votes on the designation, and the date of the vote by the Boston Landmark Commission. This document is then sent to the city clerk, who advances it through the approximately 45-day mayoral and city council approval process. The mayor shall transmit her approval or disapproval to the city council within 15 days. The city council then has 30 days in which to overturn, by a 2/3 vote, a designation approved by the mayor. Once the designation document is returned to the Boston Landmarks Commission by the city clerk, it is ready for the final step, which is recording with the Register of Deeds. All right, I'm going to move on to Folsom Street. We good?
Yep.
Thank you. Tonight we'll be considering whether to accept a petition for further study of the potential designation of the Folsom House at 3 to 4 Folsom Avenue in Mission Hill. The purpose of a preliminary hearing is to provide petitioners with an opportunity to present to the Boston Landmarks Commission why a property should be considered for designation. If the commission votes to accept the petition for further study, there will be an opportunity for those either supporting or opposing designation to express their views at that later hearing. If the commission votes to accept the petition, written materials and additional documentation on the building would be welcomed by the commission to help the study. If the commission finds cause to reject the petition without further study, it may do so by simple majority vote, provided its reasons for so acting are stated in the decision and are furnished in writing to the petitioners. And I would now invite the petitioner spokesperson to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered further study. And I believe that's going to be Allison Poltina.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So this is a photograph from 2017 and illustrates the hidden treasure aspect of this house, and built in 1847 by the Folsom brothers. And we can go to the next slide. And here's the information from the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. On the left is the estate. Thomas Thatcher and William Billings had an auction, and in 1845, it doesn't appear that anyone bought any of the parcels in 1845, but the Folsoms, Alonzo and his brother Henry, in 1847, bought the first one, number 4 at the top left, and then later that year bought parcel number 5. And you can see on this map, this survey from Charles Whitney, how this property is very, there are no houses. There was a small mansion. Of course, it's no longer there, that faced Parker Street. And I copied the deed in cursive. I just thought the handwriting was so beautiful. We can go to the next slide. And this is the Hopkins 1873 atlas. So this property is significant for several reasons. Of course, one being the age. This house is, if not the oldest in the neighborhood, it's the second oldest. And it represented a significant change. What happened in 1846 and 1847 was that Roxbury became a city. The town of Roxbury voters went to the state legislature in 1846 and got their state charter, city charter approved, and the railroad started to getting built. And so the Folsoms were pioneers with their property, but you can see here by 1873, a lot more activity was happening. The Folsoms were carpenter builders. We can go to the next slide. And these are two aerials from the BPDA. The one on the left, you can't see it very well, but it also has the topo lines. And Mission Hill is obviously a really significant topography-wise. The land itself has many characteristics, but the fact that this house and these maps show the house move back. I didn't explain that in the previous slide, but where the house sits now, and it was moved in 1888. So what happened with the house, of course, the house stayed the same, but 3 families got built in front of it. And the driveway, Folsom Avenue, it's a private, was created. And the aerial shows on the right how it backs up to some of the backyards on Allegheny Street. If I'm going too fast, please stop me, but I was told 5 minutes. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are current photos. It's a very interesting design, very artisan-like. The Folsoms were carpenters that in the later years built several houses, 5 houses on the block of Allegheny Street that it backs up to. But this house was the first, and it has a very picturesque kind of quality to it. The section drawing at the top is from Chris Scoville. He's an architect who owns a Folsom house on Allegheny, 56 Allegheny. And at one time he had done several interior plans for the house. The porch roof, of course, is from that picture at the bottom is from Google Maps. It's quite interesting. And it's a pudding stone foundation. Okay, next slide. And this is the description from the survey in the 1980s from Edward Gordon, double Italianate house. It's a 2-family. And he was very enamored of the house. He recommended National Register listing. The cupola, the octagonal cupola was very prominent in his description, and the cobblestone drive leading up to it. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is from 1866. And 1866 is an interesting year for the Folsoms. It lists Alonzo with his address on the left there, and his son, Augustine. Augustine, and some of you might be familiar with Augustine Folsom. Augustine was a photographer, and this is the house he grew up in. He also trained as a carpenter for a while. He accumulated so many pictures and created so many images of 19th century buildings. The Boston Public Library holds almost 900 of his photographs. So he ended up living around the corner in a house that his father Alonzo built at 48 Allegheny. But this is the house he grew up in. 1866 is also important because the father, Alonzo, became the Commissioner of Public Buildings for the city of Roxbury that year. Next slide, please. And this is some information about his role. He wasn't there very long, of course, because 1868 was the year that Roxbury was annexed to the city of Boston. But during those years that he was the commissioner, he had a lot of responsibilities, and especially because of the school buildings. There were many, many school buildings in Roxbury. On the left is an ad from 1854, Carpenters and Builders, A.W. and H.A. Folsom. Henry was the younger brother. He did not play a role in Roxbury's government the way Alonzo did. Alonzo had also been elected as an alderman and previously served on the Common Council in Roxbury. And next slide, please. Okay, here's some images related to Augustine. And Augustine.
Sorry, Allison, to interrupt, but we are getting close to the 5 minutes. I think maybe you better focus on the.
Oh,
highlights if
okay,
you can.
okay. So
I don't know how many slides you have left.
I think there's only one after this. So this
Absolutely,
is
take your time.
Oh, okay, okay. A nice image of him using a paper cutter from the Boston Athenaeum, his business card, his grave marker from Mount Hope Cemetery, his long obituary in the Boston Globe, and then the next slide, please. Okay, and this is a view from the cupola. And looking from the cupola to your right, you can see the Congregational Church, which is now the Spanish Church of God. But at the time, the Folsom family were very involved with the church. His mother and his aunt were actually part of the Eliot Missionary Society, which had a building next door. And this is a postcard that he made for the church. And the cupola view was from 2005. The cupola is boarded up now, but could be reopened if it was repaired. I think that's the last slide, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you. That was some great research. Appreciate it. We don't take verbal testimony at petition matters, but there, I think, is some written testimony, and I would recognize again Jennifer Gauger if you'd like to take us through that.
Yes, thank you. We received a letter from attorney Richard C. Linz, Esquire, on behalf of the property owner, Ridges Beta LLC, stating objection to the acceptance of the petition. The letter has been provided to the commissioners, so I won't read the entire letter into the record, but I will quote that Attorney Lynn said, "The LLC respectfully requests that the commission dismiss the petition and take no further action, including the preparation of a study report. Despite attempts to modify its own policies and regulations, the commission is without authority to designate properties maintaining only local significance in accordance with Section 4 of the Enabling Act." Staff would just like to comment that the commission is only voting tonight to accept a petition for further study, and a yes vote tonight does not correspond to designation. In addition, the commission has also received 3 public comments in support of the acceptance of the petition from Carol Berry, Eric Alden, and Lois Regestein, noting the age, architectural style, and historical associations with the notable Boston photographer Augustine Folsom. We also received a comment from Martin Beinborn, who is a resident on an adjacent street, who noted that Folsom Ave provides a significant glimpse into Roxbury's 19th century past, and that the house at the end of the street is a critical part of this historic ensemble. And lastly, the commission received a letter from Molly Donahue, the Director of Advocacy for the Boston Preservation Alliance, stating their support for the petition and their confidence that a full study report will demonstrate that the building meets the criteria for landmark designation, as it is associated with the life of an important historic figure and it represents a distinctive architectural style. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would now open the floor to commissioners for comments on the petition.
Brad, may I comment? John Amadeo here.
Hi, John.
Hi. I agree with Jennifer's last statement that the study report or reading from a public comment, that the study report would give us the information to determine that it either meets or does not meet the criteria for designation. So I would advocate in favor of voting in to move for further study.
Thank you. Other commissioners? There are no other commissioner comments or questions. I would entertain a motion to accept this petition for further study.
I'll make that motion, Brad.
John Amadeo, thank you.
John Freeman, I'll second it.
John Freeman, thank you. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. I would now invite, I think Jennifer again to please review next step.
Yes, thank you. If the commissioners vote to accept a petition for further study, as you just did, it will then be added to the list of properties requiring the preparation of a study report. The purpose of a study report is to examine the property's architectural and historical significance as it relates to the criteria for designation. The amount of time it takes to complete a study report varies based on available funding and staff and level of threat to the property. Excuse me. Once it is completed, the study report will be discussed at a public hearing, and public feedback, including comments from the owner, will be heard by the commission. After the conclusion of public testimony, the commission will vote whether or not to designate the property. And if the commission votes to designate, then the proposed designation will require the review and approval of the mayor and city council. Thank you.
All right, that concludes that matter, and we move on to our next agenda item, which is an Article 85 demolition delay for 40R through 42 Temple Street, Mattapan, Dorchester, Lower Mills. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether the Boston Landmarks Commission should specify a demolition delay pursuant to the Boston Zoning Code, Article 85, Chapter 666 of the Acts of 1956 as amended. Tonight's process will have one step instead of the allowed two-step process because the current applicant has waived their right to ask for a waiver of delay based on the review of feasible alternatives to demolition. Tonight, the commission will determine whether the building is preferably preserved and if the 90-day demolition delay should be invoked. I would now ask Boston Landmarks Commission staff to review staff findings regarding the significance for 40R through 42 Temple Street with the commission. And the chair recognizes Chelsea Blanchard.
Hi, Brad. Actually, tonight we do have alternatives to review. I think we have
Oh, okay.
one alternative to review, so it will be the two-step process.
All right, thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Jen, I'll just ask you to pull up the slides, and as I read through the script, if you could just click, I think there's about eight to 9 slides. You can click through them. They're mostly photos.
Okay, sounds good.
That'd be great. Staff has determined that 40R to 42 Temple Street in Dorchester is significant within the meaning of the ordinance, specifically C, section 85.5.3C states the building is historically or architecturally significant because of period, style, method of building, construction, or important association with a famous architect or builder. Also E, section 85.5.3E states that the building is one whose loss would have a significant negative impact on the historical or architectural integrity of the or urban design character of the neighborhood. I'll just briefly describe the historic significance of this particular home. The house at 40 to 42 Temple Street can be traced back through deed records to 1820, but it may even be earlier than 1820. And so if we just sort of quickly do the math there, we're talking about a home that is at least 206 years old. The house is a good example of Greek Revival vernacular architecture built in the Lower Mills Village at this time. Temple Street is a good example of intact Greek Revival Greek Revival village street with early buildings set close to the street. The macro survey form indicates that in this village, there is the survival of early intact Greek Revival features and cites 42 Temple Street specifically as an example of this type of building. I think, I'm not looking at the slideshow right now, but I think if you can go to, if you could toggle in between the large photo that shows the possibly extant columns and the new photos that show the front porch being infilled. And my notes say the front porch was infilled sometime in the 1990s or 2000s. Current window spacing at the first floor suggests that the original columns could be existing. The building has also been clad in vinyl siding, which is typically applied over original siding boards. Staff notes that there is likely historic material behind these modern finishes. And that's it for that section, Brad.
Okay. Catch up to where I am because I wasn't prepared for 2 votes.
So we're in.
So I'm inviting the applicant to present further information at this time. Is that where I am?
That's right.
Yes.
Sorry. I now invite the applicant to present any information that will assist the commission in determining whether the building is historically significant or architecturally significant. And you may also address the condition of the building. The presentation should be limited to information regarding the significance and condition of the existing building and should not address alternatives to demolition, proposed projects, or the suitability for any proposed use. So if there's a representative of the applicant, please raise your hand.
Let me look.
I don't see anybody right now.
Second, the raise your hand function, at least on my screen, is under a big heart at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any of the names I would have expected. Okay, we can move on.
All right, so we'll go on to public comment. Members of the public would now have an opportunity to comment on the significance of the building and whether or not a demolition delay should be imposed. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your comments to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. Public comment would be limited to 2 minutes per person.
We do have one hand, Brad.
All right.
Good evening.
Yes,
Good
we can hear
evening.
you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Fatima Ali Salam. I'm the Chair of the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council. I am here to oppose the demolition of 40R to 42 Temple Street and to urge the Commission to recognize its cultural and historical significance, especially as the U.S. marks its 250th anniversary. The building is not an isolated structure. It's part of a surviving cultural landscape that reflects the full arc of American history as it unfolded in Mattapan, from Massachusetts indigenous homelands along the Ponce River to 19th century agrarian and milling communities, to earliest 20th century immigrant worker housing, to the mid-century transformation that made Mattapan a center of Black and Caribbean home ownership during the Civil Rights era. This building sits within that continuum. Its modest form is precisely what makes it historically important. It represents the everyday architecture of the people who built and sustained this neighborhood. As the nation commemorates the semi-quincentennial, federal and state commissions have emphasized that the 250th is not simply a celebration of 1776. It's a call to uplift the histories of communities that have been underdocumented or excluded from traditional preservation frameworks. Black, Indigenous, immigrant, and working class families whose stories are essential to the American narrative. Mattapan embodies that history, yet Mattapan has some of the fewest protected historic resources in the city of Boston. Allowing the demolition of this building during the 250th anniversary sends a troubling message that places where Black and immigrant families built their American story are less worthy of preservation than structures and neighborhoods with more political capital. This is the opposite of what the semi-quincentennial demands of us. Boston cannot celebrate its 250 years of American democracy by erasing the physical record of the communities who fought hardest to access its promises. Under Article 85, the Commission must consider cultural significance, not only architectural detail. This building meets that threshold. It contributes to a historic streetscape shaped by migration, resilience, and community formation. It reflects the worker housing typology that defined the early 20th century Mattapan.
We're at
and
2
spurred-
minutes. Fatima, if you can wrap it
Yes,
up.
I'm wrapping up. I respectfully request that the Commission impose a full demolition delay, require comprehensive documentation, and encourage alternatives to demolition, including rehabilitation or adaptive reuse that honors Mattapan's history. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other public comment? I see Susan Lombardi with a raised hand. Susan, if you'll hang on a sec, we can get you to unmute yourself if you're ready now.
Go ahead,
Hi.
Susan.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Lombardi Verticelli. I'm a proud Mattapan resident and also an abutter to this property. And I also want to echo everything that Fatima from the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council said and support not the demoing this building. Thank you so much.
Any other public comment? Chelsea, do you have any written comment received on this matter?
So I didn't see any, but I heard tell that there was an email that came in
Yeah, we did receive an email from Fatima who
from
just
Fatima.
gave testimony.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was in opposition. So we have two comments for and none against invoking the delay. And I guess we can return to the script at this point.
I'm going to open the floor to commissioners.
Jeff Haney here. Can we toggle back to the more historical photo before the porch was enclosed?
Mm-hmm.
So the roof on the porch, it is a hip roof, right?
It is
So
like a
has not been
slightly
altered.
roof. Yeah, it has not
Okay.
been altered.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and as I stated in my comments, it's possible that the columns were actually removed, but also very possible that they were just enclosed.
Like Exhibit A in Never Enclose Your Porch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Chelsea, if your memory is better than mine, we take two votes. The first is whether or not this building is preferably preserved. Is that correct?
Yeah, we take a vote that says we have to entertain a motion to invoke or not invoke the delay, the demo delay.
Okay.
And
And then the
then
second vote is if
afterwards,
there's
we can look at the
alternative.
alternatives.
And you can present that even though the applicant is not here. You have that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
So let me just turn back to commissioners. Any comments or questions before I ask for a motion to invoke the demolition delay?
Brad, John Amadeo here. I have a comment, and I'll just say that I feel that this building is significant and preferably preserved because of how it sits in the context of its neighborhood and its contribution to that context. Looking up and down the street, there are multiple buildings of similar style, and the absence of this building or the drastic alteration of this building would disturb the cohesion of this neighborhood, not to mention the historic continuum that public comment offered. So I advocate for voting in favor of demolition delay.
Thank you. While you're there, John, would you like to make a motion to invoke demolition delay?
Sure.
Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Felicia?
Yes.
Thank you. And voting, Felicia Jacques, please. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we do move on to a second stage of this, which is to consider alternatives to demolition. I think Chelsea's got some slides about that.
So I'm afraid that the script doesn't include the second vote for tonight. So I know how to do it if you just want to keep going with it. If that's okay with you, Brad.
Yeah, do we see the slides first?
So
and
what
then
we
take the
do,
vote?
yeah, what we do is either I or the applicant present the two alternatives to demolition.
Yeah.
I explain them to the commissioners briefly, and then the vote, the motion that we look for at the end of that is whether or not the demo delay should be waived. The invoking of the demo delay should be waived or not.
Right.
And that's just to give, it's really meant to give the applicant a chance to present something that they could build well within the bounds of the preservation of the building. So that's when we would say we'd prefer to see this project go forward in this way, and in that case we waive the delay, the 90-day delay. So without that in our script, I'm happy to wing it if you are, just because we've done this a few times before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you need to take us through the
Sure.
alternatives to.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And just give me a moment. Windows document. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So we have, sorry about that. We have two alternatives to look at. These are designs by the architecture firm called Hugh Architecture. And I'm gonna, just for the ease of reading the project easily and quickly, I'm gonna bring you to their renderings first, and then we can revisit their line drawings, their elevations, and if needed, plans. The first alternative to demolition design includes the retention of the original house as is, opening the front porch, as you can see, and then building the 4 additional dwelling units behind the house. This is a very long and deep lot, so zoning proves that this can be built in this location. So I'll leave it there for a minute for you to take it in. The second alternative to demolition includes.
Chelsea, before you do that, I think you've
Uh,
looked at the plans. Are these connected? Are they touching?
They are totally connected.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, I mean, they're
It looks like
separated
they're
by
touching.
fire protection, but they are connected.
Okay.
Right. The second scheme is a slight alteration where the connector between the new 4 units in the back and the front part of the original house sort of changes shape. So it becomes a gabled roof connection versus the sort of shed dormer type, well, I don't know if that's what you call it, but the flat roof connection of the prior scheme. That affords a garage for the first unit, which is not present in the first scheme. So then the applicant is usually invited to share what they are proposing and what their preference is to build here, which is 5 new units, and obviously the demolition of the historic house in the front, and this in its place. So
I think we
I'm
can leave
happy
it
to answer.
there, and if commissioners
Yeah.
have questions, we can dig into the floor plans or the elevations, but I think the renderings
Yeah.
in this case are pretty explanatory.
Precisely.
Thank you. So I would open the floor to commissioner comments and questions on these 3 proposals. I guess we'll categorize 2 of them as, but it's a little hard to know. We don't know how much preservation of the existing house is actually proposed, but it looks like some
Yeah, the main form of
reform.
the original house is in scheme 1. Scheme 2 keeps most of the main form of the house, but creates a different type of connection between the 2. I don't know when this back part of the house was built. Permit records were not very illustrative in this case.
If we were to continue the invocation of the demo delay with a preference stated for schemes 1 or 2, does that give the applicant an opportunity to work with staff or commissioners on providing more information about what they're proposing for the original building? It's hard to know. Is this vinyl siding?
Yeah, it's a good question. Article 85 doesn't really get into that
Sort of design review.
detail, design review. And it's very, I think one of the reasons that we don't take that option very often is that it's very sort of up to everyone's interpretation of what exactly happens if we waive the demo delay in favor of a preservation scheme.
If I may suggest something, I think in the past, what we've done is offered if the design can be worked out, that they can come back and the commission can waive the demolition delay.
Right.
That's right.
You're right. Yep.
And we can state some provisos or recommendations that would incline us to waive the demo delay if they came back to us.
That's right. I will state that in this case, although they're not here, I don't know why, but they're not here to speak in favor of their project that they prefer. The third option that I'm showing you and that is on screen now is much preferred by the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Well, I think they've shown that it is feasible to save the house by these three schemes.
Yeah. And I would certainly try to encourage the applicant towards option one that preserves the original roof line of the house.
Could you scroll up to that? I
Yeah.
agree.
yep.
Chelsea, can you go up a little bit more so you can see the elevation? There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if we knew how,
Mhm.
the approximate date of that shed addition.
Yeah.
But given that the house is over 200 years old, the addition is probably got some age to it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many houses do we have that are over 200 years old? So this is,
Yeah, this is one of the gems of Dorchester, that's for sure.
yeah.
Do you want to open, unless there's more commissioner discussion? I don't know when we're supposed to open public comment, but we are supposed to open public comment on
Yeah.
part.
Let's
I'm
do
sorry, I
that.
didn't have the script.
I know.
properly.
Let's do that without closing off commissioner comment too. I don't want to close that off yet, but sure. It's Susan, if you can unmute yourself, or perhaps you're already unmuted.
But Chelsea, this is Mattapan, not Dorchester, correct?
Sorry.
It's
You're right.
It is a little
It's on the line.
confusing. It's
Yeah.
on the line. Yeah.
It's on the line. It's actually, this home is actually really, quite close to Lower Mills Village.
Susan, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. I guess I'm just a little confused about the process here, that I believe, as I understand it, that you all have voted for a demolition delay. The applicant is not here to speak to their alternate designs. So none of us have incredible detail about that or what they're willing to do with those designs. And it's the idea of already been floated of now voiding out the demolition delay.
That is the second vote in the process. So the demolition delay, which is invoked currently, is 90 days. And as I think Commissioner Freeman maybe mentioned, in the past, the commission has said, if you'll work towards the preservation of the building with us, we could possibly uninvoke the demolition delay.
Yeah, we can lift it.
We can lift the demolition delay before the 90 days if the 90 days is critical to the success of the project. That's our leverage to say, let's go towards one of these schemes that preserves the building.
Brad, if I could just make a staff comment, given that they are not present and we do have a vote already in place to invoke the 90 days, I would suggest that we possibly table this discussion and allow them to come back to discuss alternatives. And at that point, we could then take a vote to lift the delay if there was agreement that they would look to retain the building.
And then the alternative to that, if they don't care to come back, the 90-day delay would just stay in place and it would expire in
90 days.
It would expire,
90 days, which is July. July.
July 13th.
Does that answer your question, Susan?
It does. I guess I just want to make sure that if you all are voting for a demolition delay, which I'm in favor of, that there be engagement within the community if they decide to step forward and offer alternative designs. And, you know, hope that they're willing to meet with folks like the River Street Civic Association, the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council, and work within the community to have something that serves us here.
We can let them know, and then
Mhm.
obviously they'll have access to the recording of this hearing. And
But
we-
you can
we-
reach
all we
out to
can
them
do-
directly too.
Yes, and
Well,
and
if you want to drop their contact information in the chat, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Susan, we do not allow chat on our public hearings, but if you would like to contact our office at blc@boston.gov, I encourage you to reach out that way.
Other commissioners, I'm interested in your thoughts, particularly on this matter of just, I think we're going to say waive or delay the second vote to encourage the applicant to return to us in person and answer questions that we might have.
Brad, I would be in favor of that. Do we need to vote on that?
we don't have to vote on
No.
that.
Okay.
We can just let the vote that has been taken stand, and staff.
And they don't have to come if they don't want
They
to
don't have to
come.
come. I don't expect they will.
right.
But certainly we will encourage them to come back and work with these. They have already been told by staff that the schemes that preserve the building are much preferable.
Mhm.
So
Also, the best purpose of the 90-day delay is exactly to meet Susan's concern of giving the community an opportunity to engage with the applicant in order to move toward the preservation of the building in question. So hopefully the community can engage with the applicant and use that 90 days to best advantage.
That's an important comment. That's the best part of this tool, if there's any good part of this tool, is
And it looks like there is a community that cares.
Yeah.
So, which is great.
all right. So we're going to, I think the consensus is, unless someone wants to make a motion, the consensus is we will not vote tonight on lifting the demolition delay. I'm going to pause for a second and make sure there's no objection to that. And I'll read the next part of the script. The Boston Landmarks Commission finds that in the public interest, it is preferable that the building at 40R through 42 Temple Street be preserved or rehabilitated rather than demolished. Therefore, the Boston Landmarks Commission has determined that this significant building is subject to the demolition delay, and that the Commissioner of Inspectional Services shall not issue a demolition permit until July 13th, 2026, which is 90 days from the close of the public hearing. The applicant shall be responsible for properly securing and protecting the building during this time, that they are subject to delay under Article 85. All right, that concludes this matter, and I would recognize Elizabeth Shura to take us through staff comments and updates.
Great, thanks, Brad. Our next Boston Landmarks Commission hearing will be Tuesday, April 28th. And as of right now, I believe we just have administrative items for design review. And I will confirm that by Friday and let everyone know if we will be having the design review subcommittee start early. Otherwise, we will begin at 6 p.m. I also wanted to note that the study committee for the Monument Square Landmark District will host a free public engagement event to engage with members of the Charlestown community regarding their work to provide recommendations for designation of the proposed landmark district. The study committee will share updates on the work they've done so far and gather feedback on the proposed district. So that is tomorrow evening at the Bunker Hill Monument Museum. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Can I
Thank
add
you.
something, Liz? We may have an advisory review on the
Right, but that will go just during the
That will
6
be,
o'clock.
yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
during the normal. So all of you that like to do design review, there will be a project to look at.
Commissioner comments, questions, concerns, bearing in mind that we're still in a public meeting. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll
Okay.
second.
John Freeman, John Amadeo. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Good
See you
night.
in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Night.
Happy
night.
spring.
Happy spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.